Hey, today we're going to be making these cupcake containers. So not only are they really cool to look at, they are also containers so you can put candies or jewelry or, I don't know, money. Up to you. It's very cool. And you can print them separately so that you can change the colors and it's going to be amazing. So let's get started. We're going to go to the shapes library and we're going to go to basic shapes and we want the purple cone. So there you go. Let's focus on the settings. We're going to go to the top radius, and that's going to be 15.52. Enter. The base radius is going to be 12.16. Enter. The height is going to stay at 20, and the sides at 34. Enter. All right, so there we have our basic shape. There you go. We're going to zoom in there. Now, what we're going to do with this is we're going to make a hole inside, and this is going to be, the hole, the cup. So I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. I'll move it over so we can play with it a little. Now, all we're going to do here is we're going to keep the same exact settings. We're just going to change the height here. Actually, it's a lot easier if you change to the bottom angle and change the height from down here, because it'll move up, and that's exactly what we want. And this is going to be 18.5. And now the width and depth are both going to be 28.3. 28.3. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is make this into a hole. So I'm going to click the letter H. You could also click here. And then I'm going to align these two. I'm going to select both and click the letter L. There it is, and there it is. We are good to go. Now I'm just going to group them, Control G. Now we have the beginning of the cup. Let's center this. All right, so that's the beginning. Now we're going to create the outer edge, and we're going to use the green roof from the basic shape library. There it is, the roof. I'm going to click that. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Why? Just because I want it to be facing this right here. So let's go ahead and rotate it there. Now I'm going to rotate it up so that it's, getting closer to the wall, which is where we ultimately want it. And then I'm going to click the letter D to move it up. We are going to move it back down a little bit, but not until it's much later. All right, so the height is going to be 23. Now here, actually, let's change this one first. We're going to change that to 1.7. And now the depth, I'm going to change to 3.4. 3.4, enter. All right. Now we can't really put it here because it needs to be changed to a different angle. So we're going to rotate this 9.5. Now you can't actually do 9.5 just by doing this. You have to enter it manually. How? You click on the arrow, then you can click on the number 9.5, and there you go. I'm just going to move it. Actually, before I move it closer, what I want to do is align it. So I want to make sure I'm starting at the center, otherwise it throws off everything else. So I'm going to click the letter L, click the center, and not there. Okay, so there. Now it's aligned at least in that direction. Did I click something else? I did. That's okay. Didn't change anything. So I'm going to change my snap grid to, should I do off? I don't know. Let's do 0.1. And if we need to be more precise, I'll just change it. So I'm going to click on the side here, the green roof, and then move it as close as possible. I want to see this right here. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, so it's in there. I don't want it that close. So that should be fine. Right there. You see that? Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it and put it on the other side. So I'm going to put Control D, click the letter M, and because I want it in this direction, I'm going to click that one. Now I'm going to hold the Shift button down and use the arrow key to move it over. Okay, so now I want it to be on this side as well, as close as possible, and touching the side. Okay, Okay, so there we go. We have those two right there. Now I'm going to check. I want to make sure that the bottom is actually, yeah, I want this right here. Actually, let's stop right here for a second. Let's move this down. Just you'll see why later, but right now I'm going to click the letter D to make sure it's all the way down. And also, I want this not to just be down. I want it to go past that, and it just makes for a smoother print. So it's not going to change anything. At least actually, it probably is going to change something. So I'm going to move it down just a little bit. I want some sticking out here, and I want some sticking out there. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I didn't check how much I'm doing it. I'm just doing it. And then I'll check to see if there's any space between the design and the print. No, okay, we're good. So we have both of them, and I just want to make sure that they're aligned, because if they're not, it changes the way this looks. Okay, they're aligned. We're good. This next part I love doing because it makes it so much faster. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to hit Shift and click here. I'm going to duplicate, and without touching anything else except for this arrow, I'm going to move it 12 degrees. So, and 12. All right, that looks good. Now I'm going to hit duplicate or Command D, and it does the rest for me. Now, it's a little bit higher, and I want to make sure. That's a result of me moving this one and this one, the original two, slightly different amounts. Don't worry about it. We're going to cut this part off later. And the bottom part has the same thing. Don't even worry about it. Okay. Okay, so that part's good. What we're going to do now is we're going to group it. So I'm going to select everything and Control G. While that's processing, I'm going to look to see what's next. All right, so we have made that a group. We mirrored. Okay, we're good. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off the top and the bottom. So bottom will be pretty easy. We're just going to go to the basic shape library and get a box. And because this is 20 in height, we're going to put that as -20, and it just moves it underneath. Makes it super easy. Okay, and all I did was stretch it so it covers the base of this cup. Okay, looks like it covered all of it. Great. I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, and then move it up and out of the way for right now. I just didn't want to do it later, so there. All right, so now I'm going to select both of these. Again, Control G. And there we go. The bottom is now solid. It looks great. Now, this is the part we need to pay attention. Just because this needs to be not on the edge of these things, but in the edge of the cup. And this is the way you do it. Now, mind you, this is selected. I'm not doing anything. That is definitely selected. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. I'm going to click the letter W. And it's tracing all the different faces it encounters. The face I want is actually that one right there. So that it's parallel to the work plane. So I click it, and now that becomes my new floor. Mind you, I still have this selected. So I'm going to click the letter D. And now I'm going to click the letter W and click on the work plane. Okay. So now the next thing I need to do is make sure that it's covered here. So I'm going to move it over with the arrow key. And it's barely covering it. So I'm just going to make this larger, and I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so now I'm going to group both of them, Control G. There we go. We have the cup. However, we don't have the ring. Now, I originally saw this cupcake in a Facebook group, and the guy who designed one made it into like you could screw on the lid. I wanted one where you can just place it on there. So this is what we're doing. Okay, so the next part is we're going to go to the basic shapes library and get the tube, the orange tube. There we go. So let's play with some dimensions or some settings here. The radius is going to stay as a 10. Wall thickness is going to be 5. Oh, I'm sorry, 0.5. All right. The sides are going to be 64 because it's great when it's smooth. And the bevel and bevel segments are going to stay the same. So we're good. We're done with that. Now we're going to play with the settings. The height is going to be 1.9. And the both width and depth are going to be 29.81. So 29.81 and 29.81. All right, we're good. Now we're going to do the same thing we did last time. This right here is selected. Let's just move it over here. Makes it easier. We're going to click the letter W, and then we're going to move it all the different way, but we want it to end up here on top. This is now the work plane. I'm going to click the letter D and goes to the top of the work plane. I'm going to click the letter W. There we go. Okay, so now how do I get this in the very center? Easily select both, click the letter L for align, click here and there. Now, if we did this correctly, whoa, too close. Everything should line up beautifully. And I think it does. We are now done with this section. Do not group this yet because we're going to need this for the next part, which is the bread. I'm going to move this over here and let's move on to the bread. Well, the bread is going to start with one of these. So let's go ahead and duplicate this, Control D, and shift it over here. I'm going to put it all the way down. Now, this is not the exact thing we're going to start with. What we're doing essentially is the bottom of the bread. And if we made this into a hole and put it into what do you call it, a torus, it wouldn't fit on here just because the printing is not that precise. It just wouldn't fit. So we have to mess with the settings here, and let's go ahead and do that. So for this one, the radius is going to be 10.1. Okay, so 10.1, slightly bigger, obviously. Wall thickness is going to be 0.8. Sides are going to stay at 64, and bevel and segments are going to stay the same. Good. This one's ready. Now, we are going to change some things here. The height is going to be 2.09. And the width and depth are going to be 30.1. Oh, that stays the same. That's good. Nothing's changed. We're good with that. And we've made it a hole. Yay. So the next step, okay, that's going to stay at the bottom. We're going to get the high definition torus. So we're going to go to the basic shape library, but we're not going to use that. We're going to search for HD torus. There it is, the red one. That's the one we want. We're going to click it, bring it over here. And now we're going to change it to the size that we're looking for. Ready? Yes. Well, essentially, we're just going to change the settings here. We're going to maximize the sides of the torus and as well as the size of the tube. Great. Now we're going to change the dimensions of the shape. The height for this one is going to be 9.2. And then 36.8 on both sides. 36.8, enter, and 36.8, enter. Okay, that part's good. Okay, so this is the part that gets a little weird. I tried measuring it. I couldn't do it exactly, so please pay attention to this. We're going to move this down, not with this thing. No, we're going to move it down with Control and the down arrow. But the first thing you need to do is change the snap grid to off. Okay, so it's clearly on the plane right now. And how do you know? That right there. That's how you know. It's touching it equally. Nothing's bad. So it's selected. Now with the Control and now the arrow key, I'm going to click this 19 times. I know I had to check this several times. 19 times. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Did it move at all? It did. I'm not sure if you can see that. There, it moved that much. Before it was just a white band. Now there's a red and white on either side. Okay. And the white part is the curvature. Okay. So now I'm going to make this transparent so you can see it. I click the letter T just so you can see what's going on here. You don't have to. I'm just doing it for my part. Okay. I'm going to align these two. L, align, and align. Okay. That part's fine. Now, mind you, part of this cupcake is underneath the work plane. That's okay. I'm sorry, this is part of the bread. So the bread. And the next part is to group these two. So Control G. Now, this next part is to help you when printing. Originally, I didn't have this next part. And when I printed it, it would fail every single time. And I was getting frustrated. So I'm like, okay, I think it's the center is not having anything to hold on to the printing bed. So I'm adding this part. We're going to go to the basic shape library and get a cylinder. Oops, it's sticking to there. Okay. First of all, I'm going to maximize the sides right there, 64. And these are the dimensions we need for this one to be 1.37, 1.37, enter. And it's going to be 27.88. So 27.88 on this side, 27.88 on that side. And of course, I'm going to align them, select, click the letter L, and there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to group these two. Now that cylinder we just placed in the middle is actually touching the work plane, which is great for when you're printing. However, there's still a little bit left from the previous, the outside bread that's still sticking out. So don't worry about that part just yet. We'll address it later. Okay, so we're gonna go get a box because now we're gonna get rid of that bottom part right now. This is this is 20, so we're gonna make that negative 20. And then we're just gonna put it underneath. Now, the only thing we need to make sure is that it's actually touching all the way around. And look under here. Yeah, it's intersecting. That's the gray part. It's intersecting the box and this donut. And then we're gonna group select both and then Control G. Now, the reason that this is done is because the printer needs more of this part to touch the bed. Otherwise, it tends to fail. Now, there's one more thing that in your settings that you need to change in order for this to print correctly. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of failures. Don't want that. Okay, next part is we need the top part that will connect with the icing above it. Okay, so let's get started. We're gonna go back to the basic shape library and click on the tube. Yep, that same tube. Of course, we're gonna maximize the sides, but let's get the other ones done. Okay, so that 10 is gonna stay the same. This is gonna be 0.5. Okay, we already maximized size. That stays the same and the same. Good. Now let's change the other dimensions here. This is gonna be 1.84, 1.84, there. And the width and depth is gonna be 28.85 and 28.85. Okay. Guess what we're going to do? That's right. We're going to align these two. So L, and there they are. However, this one here in the bottom, let me see if I think I got it. Yeah. I'm going to move it up. So let's see. I'm just going to drag this up. Looks like I dragged it up. Ooh, let me click on 9. I think that's what it is on here, but let me just check. Okay. So if everything was followed correctly, and 9 up should have worked. Okay. Now let me check something. So I don't feel comfortable with this. I'm going to move it down just, let's see, how much am I move it down? Let's say 0.3. All I'm doing is dragging it down. Just because if this is too high, the icing on the top will not go flat on this thing. Yeah, let's say negative 0.3. Okay, there, we're good. All right, well, we finished with the bread. Before grouping it, I'm going to make a duplicate of the top. So Control D, and then I'm going to move it over because this is how we're going to start the next part. And then I'm going to group these two right here, Control G, and I'm going to change the color to brown. Now, one of the great things about this design is that, oh, let me click the letter T there. One of the great things about this design is that it will not need any supports. However, if you would like to support my channel, go ahead and click like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, what do you think I should make next? I don't know, I'm open to anything. So now let's work on the icing. Okay, so the icing is going to be a little bit weird, but pretty much the same thing over and over again. So let's go ahead and start. We duplicated this shape, but you can get it again right here. As for the settings, it's going to be 10.1 and 0.8 and 64, 0, and 1. So we're good there. Now, the height. It's going to be 1.86. That didn't change anything. And I accidentally clicked on something. So again, 1.86, enter. So I made it a little bit taller. And this is going to be 29.18. So just a little bit wider. 29.18. Okay, so this part done. Let's just put an H, click an H so that it becomes, a hole. Now we're going to go to the HD torus. Again, you can do a search for it. I have it in my favorites, HD torus, so favorites, and there it is. All right. So obviously we're going to max out the sides, the torus sides and the tube sides. Great, maxed out. Smooth this out of the way for a second. Now here are the dimensions for this one. For the first one, because we're going to make at least 2 more of these, the height is going to be 8.12, 8.12. And these are going to be 29.18, I believe. Yep, 29.18, 29.18. Okay. Now, did we skip anything? Let's see. That's 8. That seems kind of tall. Let me check one more thing. Okay, you got the tube, we got the height, and yeah. Okay, so let me check. I got 2019. Okay, that's why. Okay, I was looking at the dimensions for this one. This one's off. Sorry, my bad. Height, definitely 812, but the widths are going to be 32.47 and 32.47. There. Wow. It's so weird that I can look at something and be like, you know what? That looks wrong. And it was wrong. Now here's what we're going to do. Snap grids off. We're going to move this down 1.3. Negative 1.3. There. Now, just to make sure that it's negative 1.3, I'm going to move this up slowly. Yeah, that was right. Yeah, we're good. So that is negative 1.3. We're good. Now, the reason we're doing this is the same reason as before. When we cut off part of the bottom, it's going to be a lot easier to print. So that's why we're doing this. Now, this right here is going to make it easily to fit on the bread. Much better. I'm going to click the letter T so you can see what's going on here. And of course, you know what I'm going to do. Actually, the next thing I think I need to do is I need to get rid of the bottom of this right here. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So we're going to go to the basic shapes and get the whole box. Put negative 20, negative 20. There you go. Bring it down. Move this out of the way for a second. Okay, I'm going to group these two. Control G. Wow. Okay. Now, mind you, this is a high definition torus, so grouping these things is going to be a little bit of an issue eventually because there's a lot of shapes, more than it's used to. So once that's done, we're going to group these two. Oh, it's done. We're going to align, click the letter L. Okay, let's do that again. Letter L. There it is. Perfect. And perfect. Okay. And yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want some white here, and that's why that's going to make it a lot easier to print. we're good there. Okay, and now I'm going to group Control G. Now, technically, you could just print this and put it on top of there, and you'd be like, yeah, it's a donut cupcake, because that's what that looks like. All right, so that's the first one. Let's get another one, another HD. I'm going to go to my favorites, HD torus, and let's play with the settings. Of course, we're going to max out the sides because we like to break things. Let's move this out of the way for a second. And here are the dimensions for this one. The height is going to be 7. And the other two dimensions are going to be 28 and 28. All right, so here is one that I need you to focus. We're going to change the degrees. Now, which direction doesn't matter as long as you do the next one we're going to design in the other direction, okay? And then we're going to move it up 2.5. Let's just type it in there, 2.5. There. All right, and let's just put it there. Does it have to be perfect at this point? It does not have to be perfect at this point. And just make another one, drop it over here, maximize the sides. And let's see, for this one, it's going to be 6 because we're making it smaller as it goes higher. And 23.5, 23.5, 23.5. And we're going to, again, rotate a bit in the opposite direction, 7 degrees. And this is going to go up with 7.25 right there, 7.25. Great. Now I think it'd be okay to align all of these, even though it's going to be a little bit wacky. You can still adjust it later just because they're not perfect circles anymore. They are tilted and moved around and see, a little bit weird. I think I want, okay, click away there. I want this one to be more over to the right and this one a little bit more to the left. Now, these are your designs, so feel free to adjust them. Like right now, I don't like this sticking out too much, so I'm just going to move it over. Okay, that looks a little bit better. All right, we're going to go do a search. It was already there for me, but I'm going to do a search so that you can see it. It's an HD sphere, and it's already there. It's the yellow one, right? And for this one, we are actually going to, of course, maximize the resolution, but we're not going to change anything except we're just going to move it down. Well, I'm going to change it to red because red looks cool. I'm going to move this down 3.75 or negative 3.75. There. Now I'm going to group or align these three. And now I'm going to evaluate it, make sure I like the way it looks for all the things. I think I'm just going to rotate this because it keeps, you know, changing there. I think I like that. Okay, so now that we have that, we're all good there. I'm going to go to the shapes library. I want the basic shapes there, and I'm going to get another cube because I need to get rid of that, the bottom part of the ball. Okay, this is still 20, so I need to put negative 20 to move it down. I'm going to put it in the center. I'm going to group Control G. Okay, so this right here can be printed separately, and you can put any color you want. Maybe you don't like the red filling. That's okay. You can be wrong. I'm not going to get mad at you. So the next part is the heart. Now the heart, I'm going to make it, first of all, 1 millimeter. Okay, now the dimensions for this heart, I'm going to change just a little bit. I'm going to make this 18. And this one's going to be 16.6. There you go. Now, if you want to add text, feel free. I'm not, but you can. And you just need to make sure that the text stays as high as possible because you're going to put this heart in here like this. First of all, you got to change it to red. Who's dealing with the brown heart right now? Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this, make it a whole. And I'm going to hit the shift button and I'm going to move it up. Shift and move that up. That seems like it's too much. Where are my numbers here? to 1 point. Let me check something right here. This is the important part. Right there. Oh, okay, yeah. Tell you what, I'm going to change this right now. Right now they're the same dimension. So as if I haven't done anything, I'm going to hit Shift and then move it up. Point. Is it moving? Oh no, it's just I'm using the wrong button. Again, my bad. This is the one I want. So I'm going to hit Shift and I'm going to move it very, very small increments. Let's do 1.1. Right there. Now this is great. It's going to allow for the heart to fit, but it won't exactly fit until I'm going to click away and then move this over until the height is 1.3 there. So again, I hit Shift in the center and I zoomed in. By the way, when you zoom in, it looks like it allows you to move it in smaller increments to 1.1. After that, move this by itself without the shift to 1.3. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to rotate this heart 90 degrees. And then we're going to move it over here. I'm going to click the letter D so it's already above. Now what you want to do is you want to put this heart, if you want to put the heart at all. You can put it at the very center and then, you know, there's somebody's name, or you can tilt it a little bit, add some style and add somebody's name. It can still be tilted. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. But here's the thing. You can print these separately and change the colors, obviously. If you print them together, one on top of the other, you're going to have one solid cupcake. It will not be a box. But here's the important part. When you print them, you need to make sure that in your printer, in your slicer settings, you have the brim on. Now, what does that look like? In Flash Print, this is what it looks like. Let me see if I can go back. When you hit Start Slicing, you go to Additions and you put Brim Enabled. Fully enabled, actually. That's Flash Print. When you use Cora, you would go to your settings. And if you're here at the beginning, you want to go to Custom and then type in the word brim. Did I spell it right? Yes, I did. And it's under Build Adhesion. You want the brim on because usually it could be none when you first start, but you want the brim on, okay? And if you're doing bamboo, you want, where is it? Oh, it's over here. I believe it's in Others, is it? Or is it Support? It's Support. Is it on Support? Let's say you're stuck like I am right now. I'm just going to type in the word brim, B-R-I-M, and it'll take you there, brim type. It was in Others, my bad. And this one is already on. Auto, see, brim type auto, and 0.1. If you don't use this, there's a good chance that you're going to fail. But here's the other thing. Do not think that this is it, right? Feel free to change your cupcake. Do a search online for cool cupcake designs. Go to Images and look at all the different things you can put on top of that cupcake instead of just the regular icing like I did. Or maybe you can see what other people have done and put 3D printed cupcakes. And check these out. Let's look at them over here. Look at that. Isn't that weird? See? Different. I like it. But all things that you can do, do not just limit yourself to what I, just suggested. But also, when you're if you want like the best possible cupcake, because if you just print on regular settings, you're going to see some little ridges and it's not going to look as good. The layer height is something you want to play with to get the best look for these two things. Okay. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my other designs. I would really appreciate it. Please subscribe and have a great day.